Hello, hello, and welcome to Four Wheel Tech for September 1st, 2024. It's Season 1, Episode 21. I am Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI from the future, and I go for
it. Welcome to Four Wheel Tech. You threw my greeting off.
We're going to be talking about can't afford exhaust noise fine. Pagani has stopped developing its hybrid. Do you need to replace your EV battery? Do you really? Ariel debuts the e-Nomad Land Rover Beach Brake model, electric mini recall, a stolen rig of Porsches, Jaguar recall, so better park outside, entry-level sports car, and take pictures of your car at night. So sexy. Yeah, you were going to say something?
I'm not sure what to say to that.
Yeah, apparently your cars really like pictures being taken of them at night. You know, mood lighting, it sets the
Absolutely.
stage. Yeah.
I mean, we've seen like photo spreads that are set with night and lighting and everything, but I don't know for cars specifically.
Does the moonlight make my back end look thick? Exclamation point FWT will pull the articles for today's show out of Omatron. I'd say that they're in order, but no. Yeah, Omatron, you really need to be rebooted or something. I don't know what's going on.
See if you can match up the order with the order of the articles.
There's a prize at the end and a test. There's no prize and no test. But hey, stick around, ask questions in chat, either on YouTube or Twitch, either way. But let's get into today's articles. The very first article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Lamborghini owner says he can't afford exhaust noise fine. And the article here says, but he has a point. Usually when a supercar owner gets themselves into dumb trouble, it's a chance for us to all come together, point and laugh. Oh, it's so fun being poor and watching somebody with a Lamborghini and tons of money. Anyway, speeding tickets, aquatic adventures. We all love to see a rich a-hole lose. But one Staten Island Lamborghini owner ticketed for his Huracan Performante exhaust noise apparently has a point. But let's go see what this is. Amber De Silva over at jalopnik.com put their article together, and it says it's not reasonable to ticket cars for their stock exhaust volume. Well,
what about modified?
Well, this apparently is the stock sound, right? So like Harleys and stuff like that, they're really loud. Maybe a place has some issue with how loud a motorcycle is. So there's zoning and stuff like that. And certain places have different sound allowances. But they're saying that any car that gets sold or vehicle that gets sold, well, maybe it shouldn't get fined because it's stock.
Now, right. No, I agree.
And as the AI is trying to get me to tell this story, so I got a ticket once, and basically it was two tickets. It was exhibition of speed, and my car was too loud. Well, they had pulled me over at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had a modified exhaust that was ported so it was in front of the rear axle and pointed straight down under the car. So when you were driving around, it was basically like an M1 Abrams driving through whatever neighborhood.
Very stealthy.
Very, very stealthy. Nobody knew who I was. I was a vehicular ninja. No, I was quite the opposite. But anyway, so the cop saw me go from 0 to 60 in apparently the span of an intersection, and I got a ticket for exhibition of speed. When the light turned green, I lit my tires up and went through the intersection. 2 o'clock in the morning, nobody was around. I was alone on the street. I wasn't drunk or anything like that. I was just a stupid teenager with a car that I built. Obviously not from scratch. I'm not a Hyundai employee, but get it? Call
Oh,
back
yeah, I got it.
kid workers. Anyway, so
The hours were right.
the hours were right. That's actually pretty funny. 2:00 in the morning, still stamping doors. Come on, Susie. Oh, you know what? I just realized we have a problem. The article. Hold on. Let me scoot this over a little bit so you can see it properly. There we go. Anyway, so when I got pulled over, I got this ticket. And so I had to go before a judge because it was a fix-it ticket. But I was arguing like I don't deserve this, blah, blah, blah. It's just somebody that perceived it to be too loud and whatnot. So lo and behold, I end up behind the courthouse, and they tell me to start my car up, but I'm like, this ain't right. I'm literally trapped behind an 8-story building and a 60-foot wall, right? And so I'm in a sound chamber. And so I start my car up, and this thing just goes boom. And they're like, $2,000 ticket. I basically got just hammered. And they're like, yeah, you got to fix it. And it wasn't, I don't remember the actual price of the ticket, but I remember having to pay another $2,000 to get my exhaust modified so it would extend over the rear axle. And so like my life has basically been haunted by $2,000 increments where my turbo fails and it costs $2,000 to get it replaced, either because of the labor or because of the part, or the air conditioning goes out and it costs $2,000 for labor, but $20 for the part. It all kinds of sucks. But anyway, thought it was an interesting story, and apparently the AI thought it was an interesting story too. You should have seen the look on the people's face, because they were all like, okay, let's go out to behind the courthouse.
And you're probably like, are you sure about this?
Yeah. And I'm sitting there going, wait. The rules say you have to be in an open area and there's sensors,
right?
Decibel meters measuring. But no, it was like a SpaceX rocket going off. I get out of the car and they're all like, all right, Mayor Watt, here's your ticket. Oh, just send me to prison. Anyway, it's not reasonable for a ticket with a stock exhaust to have to pay tickets. But frankly, Anthony Aquilino, a supercar enthusiast, got a ticket for excessive noise in his Huracan Performante while driving through Manhattan. Aquilino claims the $800 fine, which will increase for repeated offenses, is unaffordable and unreasonable, while the claim that someone who owns a 6-figure supercar can't afford an $800 ticket is laughable. The argument for that the ticket is unreasonable holds water. I would say true. But here is the problem with that. and there is nothing else about this. Either you set Department of Transportation requirements for sound level of default exhaust at X and nobody can exceed it, or you basically have to allow anybody to drive anything and you have no sound requirements.
Exactly. The other thing that struck me is in New York City, it might actually be a similar sound experience as to what you just described, even though this is a stock vehicle.
Because
it's
going
to sound louder than it is.
Yeah, it's a box canyon. And so you can sit there and fart in one end of the box canyon and there's somebody on the other side going, dude, I'm a mile away down this box canyon and I just heard that.
Right. I mean, I do think this is a problem, though. If this car is fully approved by all the
Department of Transportation
fits
requirements,
meets all the regulations, etc. They either need to change the reg, or they need, this is kind of absurd. But if this sounds like a a SpaceX rocket every day down Fifth Avenue or something, then
yeah,
there's some other problem that needs to be remedied.
There still is a problem. The car is just too damn loud. But you can say that about a Harley, and nobody says that about a Harley. I mean, people say it about a Harley, but they don't sit there and go find that Harley. Go find that Harley.
No, and they don't go, well, let's change the rules so motorcycles can't make any noise, or muscle cars can't make any noise, or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
In fact, they're trying to make more noise. Now, some of it's for safety, but some of it's because people want the noise.
Right.
Right on the EVs.
Yeah, exactly. Let's make the fake, V12 sound so that we sound more like a regular car. Harleys are loud both because some people think that it's really awesome, and as a side note, it lets the drivers around them know where the hell they are, because people are really stupid and smash into motorcycle riders because they're typically, they're smaller and in a blind spot perhaps, and then there's always the derpy motorcycle rider that just goes, I'm the main character. But anyway, I don't think that it's reasonable. If you are stock exhaust, you shouldn't be fined. In fact, if anything, file a complaint with the manufacturer of the car saying you have to lower your car's volume in the United States. Good luck. Let's move on. Next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. We actually talked about Pagani a little while ago. They stopped developing a hybrid system because no one was interested, but that has to be a fallacy for a supercar maybe. But let me tell you,
yeah, most manufacturers should be pursuing hybrid, but aren't really putting hybrids out there.
Yep. So it found the technology too heavy. Ronan Glon put the article together. It's over at autoblog.com. But this is in the supercar kind of, maybe hypercar for crying out loud. They talk about Utopia could have received a V8 electric hybrid system, but instead landed with a twin turbo V12. The Pagani nearly hopped on the electrification bandwagon, but shelved the project due to the technical challenges and a lack of demand from its target audience, which is filthy rich and capable of affording everything. So, speaking to their colleagues at The Drive, company founder Horacio Pagani explained that his team worked with a partner, that little company, Mercedes-AMG, to find a suitable powertrain.
Maybe I've heard of it, yeah.
Once or twice, right? So they say beyond the lack of demand, the hybrid system's motors and batteries added too much weight. Pagani explained that the hybrid prototypes his team tested were overweight by nearly 900 to 1,100 pounds, and this extra mass would have limited the car's appeal. Yeah. The clients didn't want anything to do with it, so.
But I think you're right. This is a niche space. That doesn't necessarily mean there's no demand for hybrids.
Meanwhile, just the article that we're talking about is this one. Pagani stopped, but Bugatti leaned into it.
Well, see, okay, that doesn't make any sense because aren't those similar markets?
Oh, yes. Yeah. And I like Bugatti design more than I like that. But Pagani and Bugatti are two different animals. So. But they're hypercars, and I don't know. Some people don't want it, and some people do. But for crying out loud, to sit there and say that the audience isn't there, maybe they're specific, some niche that is like, to hell with. So like Pagani is basically the Wyoming of hypercars.
Oh, okay. Yes, then I could see that.
Although there's,
and if you haven't heard about that before, we typically talk about that in non sequitur news, but Wyoming is not very, as a state, is not very in favor of EVs
or progress. So no, that's not true though, because they've done some like really wacky things.
There was something where they were out in front of everybody,
way out in front. Yeah, and I'm like, well, how are you going to do that?
Though. It didn't make sense in line with the EV view.
Yeah,
it was something like. It wasn't this, but it was something like, we're going to install more EV chargers than anybody. It wasn't,
but it was not. But
something, yeah. Right? I know.
They're like anti-electrification. So anyway, so the next article is over in Technology Today. Replacing an EV battery is expensive, but would you ever need to?
Well, wait a second. What about when you resell the car?
Battery technology has come a long way, and EV batteries can last more than 100,000 miles these days. Okay.
So if you put 99,000 on it and try to sell your car,
I'm done.
How's that going to work?
Somebody else's problem. It might be a $7,000 to $15,000 problem, but I've driven 100,000 miles. Look, that little Honda Spec, what was the car? The Suzuki that we talked about.
Swift, I think.
The Suzuki Swift had 150,000 miles on it. And it was a $9,000 car that got 40 miles to the gallon. 40 to 44.
Right. I have to say, though, I didn't know EV batteries can, notice can is different than will, but can last 100,000 miles, which is better than I realized.
I don't know if that's possible, though. I don't know how many times you've seen that. You see that with a Toyota day in, day out. Tick, tock. Look, it's another Toyota with over 100,000 miles. Tick, tock.
Right, but how about every other manufacturer?
Ford, meh, maybe. Yeah, if it's sitting in a barn for 15 years.
Pagani, probably not.
Bugatti, no. No, those are the ones that are like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, where the dad has it in the garage, buffing it,
and doesn't have any miles on it.
Yeah, rolling it backwards, but that's not how odometers work.
Yeah, exactly.
Reverse, forward, it always moves forward. Anyway, Alexandra Jones put this article together. I'm already at my wit's end with this article, and all I've done is read the deck statement.
Well, we can give it a quick treatment and move to the next.
Yeah, there you go. So the debate over EV versus internal combustion engines or ICE vehicles still rages on social media sites like Reddit, where users break down and compare the total cost of ownership of each vehicle over time. In these back-of-the-napkin estimates, EVs usually win out as a cheaper option, but one factor in the cost still scares away some people, replacing the EV battery. We've talked about this before, but it's not just replacing the EV battery. You have to put your gas station in your garage, and that's a $5,000 to $6,000, $8,000 charge.
Right.
And you have to worry about... Okay, let's focus, Mayor Watt. EV batteries. That's it. Just an EV battery. Don't put any other inputs in this.
Okay, they supposedly go for up to 100,000 miles.
Right. So they've got a bunch of stuff that they're shopping about, but a new EV battery can cost between $10,000 and $20,000. So my numbers say $7,000 and $15,000, but let's go with them because of inflation over the span of a year. Sure. So depending on the make and model, said Nadim Malouf, co-founder and CEO of Canovo, a company that develops software to optimize battery performance. The cost to replace an EV battery is not cheap, but doesn't mean you have the big expense coming down the pike. Yes, it does. Okay.
And it might be at an unexpected moment.
First
like when
off,
you go through the car wash.
All right, Cybertruck. Or Cyberstuck. So my big problem with this argument right out of the gate is they're denying that it's a fact. You do. And let's see if they say, in fact, he said, the possibility of replacing a battery doesn't necessarily result in a higher cost over the life of the vehicle. Abso-frickin-lutely it does. That's because today's battery packs last so long, you probably won't need one. So you're going to throw away your car even though it's 100% effective except for the battery.
Well, that's the piece that I don't get. It's like you have to factor in what you do with your car at the end when you would sell it or exchange it or whatever you would do.
Yeah, and then diminish it. So they go, batteries don't last forever, but it's bigger than your AAAs. Come on. Batteries have improved a lot in the decade and continue to improve, but not the ones that are in your car. They're not going to improve. The ones in your car are the ones that are there.
That's true. And if you bought your EV 10 years ago, you probably have already replaced your battery.
So 8 years, you have lost upwards of 16% of the efficiency of your vehicle's battery. Okay, because you lose anywhere between 1% and 2% of the top charge. So you're not getting that efficiency anymore. Today's technology means longer warranties of 150,000 miles or more are possible in the near future, but that is dreaming Because if you buy a car today, tomorrow, in the next 5 years, they're not at 8 and 100,000 miles.
By the way, right now, the average is roughly 8 years in terms of car ownership.
Right.
I think that's increasing because we've been seeing articles about people holding onto their cars longer because all the cars are so expensive, etc.
Yeah, and a couple of years ago it was 5.
I'm getting at that because that might be within the span of time during your ownership, even if you buy it new. If you buy it used, that's a whole nother issue.
So if the average buyer keeps their car longer than 12 years, they've lost upwards of 24% efficiency. So their top range is only 75%. Right? So they're not driving it, the full range that they ever did because they have to stop, recharge more often because the top charge is no longer 100%. It's actually 75%. And it drives anywhere from 100,000 miles to 150,000 miles. There's a good chance they'll upgrade before running into the battery issues. So again, it doesn't diminish the fact that you have to buy a new battery at some point. You trade it in, it's somebody else's problem. This is more sociopathic than anything else because, well, I got mine, screw you. So they here they talk about it, right? Plus, there are the practices of extending your battery life of an EV, such as minimizing the use of fast charging, keeping the battery between 20 and 80% charged, avoiding storing it empty, minimizing exposure to high temperatures and low temperatures if you're buying an EV. So you basically have to create this perfect storm
where you don't drive and you can park for 8 hours at a time or whatever because you're not doing fast charging.
And you trickle charge it only to 80 to 79%. Come on.
So then you're limiting your range
this
further.
This makes it less approachable because you have to babysit your car like no ICE car ever had to be. Right? They say that it's gone down over time. Not if you can't get your battery. Have you ever looked for a certain size battery?
Usually you can find a gas station that has gasoline in stock, but that could be a problem if you're like, well, my battery's dead and I can't get one.
Replacement batteries for Teslas start at $13,000. Yeah. So if it lasts 8 years, again, you're losing upwards of 16% of the efficiency of the vehicle. So, all right. And then they talk about labor costs and battery recycling and all of that kind of stuff. Sure, you can trade in the core, but it's not going to give you $10,000. You still have to, you're out $3,000. It's weird. When you trade in your car, when you trade in your ICE vehicle, you don't worry about the gas tank needing to be replaced because you filled it up a bunch. So goofy. You vacuum it out and you turn it in and go, I want that car over there. And they go, okay, you got good enough credit. And it's still somehow a $600 a month car payment, even when you have 800 plus credit history. Anyway, this is a goofy article, but I figured I'd, put it into the feed and have people talk about it. Because without a doubt, you are going to be coming up on that 13, 14, $5,000, $7,000, $8,000, $10,000 battery replacement for your Nissan Leaf versus your Tesla. At some point, somebody's going to be replacing a battery.
Yeah, and if you think, no big deal, I'll just get a new car or whatever. Well, remember that the prices are probably going to be even higher than they are right now.
And when you trade in your car, they're going to look at the health of your battery and go, you know what? This car is not worth X amount because I have to replace it. I have to recondition it for a $13,000 fee.
Right, exactly. It's not going to be the same trade-in experience you've had with an ICE vehicle.
Yeah. Let's keep moving on. So the next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. Sick of heavy electric SUVs and crossovers. Ariel debuts the e-Nomad. And I'm just going to jump straight on over to Ars Technica.
That looks like a dune buggy.
It is a dune buggy. Yeah. You know what it really looks like to me? Do you remember, look in your history, do you remember back in the day, because you are from the future, so you should have a history of all of time, up until when you came back from the future. There used to be these little NFL helmets, and they were only about that big, but that's what that looks like.
I think they were used for ice cream.
There were bigger ones that were used for ice cream, and then the little toy ones were even smaller.
But there were much smaller ones. It
So
does
like
look like that.
A baseball cap. It looks like a baseball cap or a football helmet or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that looks like. More like a baseball cap with a little brim sticking out like that. But it's so hilarious. Okay. I don't think that this is ready for driving, though, like out in the real world, because...
Well, not anywhere with weather.
Right. Yeah, unless you want to get splashed. You are in the splash zone.
You'd have to live in, like, California or...
Yeah, because California never gets rain.
Well, not as much as some other locations.
No rain. I get it. Yeah, I think you're telling us a little bit about the future, right? Climate change. I know you don't do that, but so the e-Nomad from Ariel can match the more respectable acceleration of its gas-powered car, which means 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds, despite wearing knobbly all-terrain tires. But rapidly accelerating electric vehicles aren't anything special. What stands out about the e-Nomad's relative lack of mass, it tips the scale at just 2,000 pounds. It's actually under 2,000 pounds, less than half as much as most EVs on sale today, and that's because it has a 41 kilowatt hour battery pack that lives behind the cabin, replacing the internal combustion engine and fuel tank that you'd expect on a regular car. Hate to say it, this thing isn't going to go far. 281 horsepower. The range is 150 miles. That's what's quoted, but maybe downhill in a hurricane. Doesn't have any doors.
Yeah, that's why I said about the weather.
Yeah. And just driving on the freeway, you're going to get bugs. They'll get sucked in from the side and just smack you right in the face.
That sounds very pleasant.
Oh my God, this thing looks even more like a baseball cap.
Oh, it does.
Anyway, it's in the UK. Although the e-Nomad is just a concept for now, the company will definitely use customer interest to gauge whether the production, full run of it. I think it's interesting. It says that the development continues on the company's other EV, a 1,180 horsepower coupe called the Hypercar, Hypercar, first unveiled 7 years ago. And work continues on that prototype with a production version possibly appearing next year. Did they say how much this thing costs?
I don't know that they did.
Nope.
I'm not sure it has a cost yet, but I mean, I think this is a good direction that they're going, but they need to then use some of this in a more traditional car. Right, because most people want doors, for example.
Yeah. What? No. I like running the risk of something coming through the car entirely. Right? I mean, it would go all the way through from one... Well, look, there's a better picture of it. If you just lean back far enough, somebody can... Instead of T-boning you, they'll just go right through all the way to the other side. Oh my goodness, did I really? All right, well anyway, let's move on. Next article, moving on. Next article's over on 4-Wheel Tech. Land Rover Defender gets limited edition. Barbie Beach Break model. No, it's actually just
Is it going to be pink?
I don't know. Oh, nope. So the article is by Joel Stocksdale over at autoblog.com. It says, where have we seen this look before? And
that looks like the old style, I want to say like Jeeps or something, but the stripes definitely look like maybe 70s style.
Those stripes remind me of Starfield, but that's a different thing. They can't be talking about that, and I'm not really sure what they're hinting at. So where have we seen this look before? Maybe they say in the article. So just as the Tasman blue paint job from the normal lineup and the available white painted 20-inch wheels, it does have the unique bundle of accessories not offered regularly, including side-mounted storage boxes, roof crossbar, side steps, mud flaps. The real attraction is the sunset stripes with lettering that says Beach Break, and the fact that Land Rover is only selling 20 of these.
Why are they only selling 20? I think they would sell quite a few.
Artificial scarcity drives the price up. Kind of like they mentioned the Ford Bronco Sport, but the Ford Bronco version 1, not the Sport, is equally artificially constrained. There are no more of them.
Okay, but that one apparently has the sunset stripes as well.
Oh, is that what it is? Another boxy, retro, rugged SUV with sunset stripes. Ford certainly doesn't have a monopoly on such graphics, but it's an amusing similarity. I wonder, is it the same? You're pulling it up, right?
I'm going to try to find it.
So the Bronco
it's
Sport...
pretty similar.
The Ford Bronco Sport Free Willy. Yeah? Similar? Confusingly similar?
I would say so.
Oh.
I think you'll be able to see the picture here if you... Oh.
Yeah, it's okay. Don't do that. Oh, that you can do. 1 second, folks. Oh my god. They're inverted.
Right? Yeah, but it looks pretty much like the same idea.
Well, I know, but all they are is inverted. Just like they put the red at the bottom versus the top. Huh. Wow.
And the car shapes are pretty similar, right?
I mean, yeah. Even there's a hood bump, but on the Bronco Sport Free Willy, it's actually the wheel wells.
Okay, that's weird. Up. And on the yellow layer, it says something or has something like it does on the.
Oh yeah, it's probably says Bronco.
I forgot what this was. Sorry, the Land Rover.
Oh, it says Bronco. It says Bronco.
Yeah, but don't you find that odd? The only layer that has any writing on it on this one is the yellow layer.
Yep. It's conspiracy theory. Land Rover is Bronco. Dun, dun, dun.
Heard it here first.
And probably should ignore that. Moving on. Next article is over in Mobile. BMW recalls electric Mini Coopers due to battery issues, so you better park it outside again, if you can. So Cooper SE models manufactured between 2020 and 2024 were produced with battery components that may have not been up to production specifications, according to Car and Driver, citing recall documents. The article is actually from The Hill, but obviously they got it from Car and Driver. But it's originally from News Nation. BMW is recalling more than 12,000 Mini Cooper SE electric models due to a battery issue, because the battery components may not have been up to production specifications. I wonder how they pull those batteries out. Do they have to pull the entire car apart to get to that?
Well, they might need to, because that was something that previous article was talking about, like the labor costs. It's not a minor undertaking.
So it may suffer from a thermal runaway, but they're basically going to do a software update to include a diagnostic function that can detect the malfunction. They're not going to replace it. They're going to wait for your car to flame out.
Awesome.
It's a calculated risk and that they're willing to take with your life.
How convenient.
Don't worry. It'll only be really, really warm for a couple of minutes. Let's move on. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Dirtbags steal race team rig packed with $1.5 million worth of Porsches. So following the most recent round of IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge season at Virginia International Raceway, the Rennsport 1 team packed the truck full of 4 Porsche race cars and all the associated gear, headed back to their South Florida race shop, and dirtbags. The tractor has been recovered, but the trailer full of cars and gear is still missing. So that's Ocean's 11 style
it or
shit,
something.
Man.
Yeah, it is.
They knew what was going on. They were a target. That
Yeah,
isn't
this
somebody
wasn't
going, "Hey."
somebody opportunity.
Yeah, that's where the trail goes dark, as the thieves apparently found and disabled the trailer's GPS, making off with the race cars and parts inside. Somebody knew this is an inside job, hands down.
Oh, absolutely.
There is like no reason to get rid of this car, this vehicle, keep this, disable the GPS and find it and disable it.
Right, right.
Then what? You have to hide RSI on there. And somebody knows. Inside, there's somebody that had to have cahooted. So
I'm
whatever the case
guessing
is now,
it's a relative of somebody on this team.
And isn't that wild?
Like this is, you're right, it's very Ocean's 11.
Early on Sunday morning, 2 people drove into the RS1 compound and then drove away. About 20 minutes later, the truck and trailer were driven off the lot. Police and the shop owner aren't saying much about how exactly the truck was stolen, whether the keys were left inside or if the thieves found a way to bypass the ignition, which could be as easy as a relay attack, where you use an RFID scanner and you point a long-range antenna somewhere and pick up the keyless fob, push the button on the car, and it starts up. Off you go. But you won't be able to do that. If the car shuts down somewhere, you won't be able to do it again. So that might have been the reason.
That's kind of a problem, unless they're going to rekey it or something.
That might have been the reason why it was pulled off to the side somewhere and they took the trailer, because they would not be able to restart this car.
Oh, I see. Right. So they want to do it once.
Do it once, get out safe. Yeah. So whatever the case, the team's now scrambling to figure out how to get ready for an upcoming Indianapolis Motor Speedway round.
Step 1.
Find 4 cars.
Yes, exactly.
Step 2. Find whoever it is that stole your vehicle. God, that is
I don't
wild.
think I've heard of this from racing cars. I mean, I'm sure it's occurred, but like a whole fleet of vehicles, that's unusual.
Well, it's 4 Porsches that are built for racing, so I suspect they're going to be used in an Ocean's 11 type heist.
Oh, then they're going to be the next, right? This is an elaborate thing. It's not just about the cars, potentially.
That's right. Done. All right, let's keep
Well,
going.
if you see a fleet of Porsche GT4s going down the road, might
Or
be
a black
worth
truck that
glancing at
says-
them. And
It says RSI on the side. It's
right,
emblazoned.
exactly. Like maybe something's not right.
That's insane. Moving on.
That'll be the sequel to Italian Job, right? With the fleet of minis.
I'm sorry, how was that pronounced? The sequel?
Thank you. I had a glitch.
Thought you could get away with that. So the next article is over in 4-Wheel Tech. Jaguar I-Pace fire risk leads to recall, instructions to park outside. Jaguar deserves more credit, it says. When it debuted in 2018, it was the only 2 electric vehicles on sale that could offer Tesla rivaling range. The other was the much more plebeian Chevy Bolt. Wow.
Jeez.
Wow. Poor Chevy Bolt. Actually, I kind of like the Chevy Bolt. Anyway, it was cheaper and nowhere near as luxurious, nor as enjoyable to drive. Now some I-Pace and Bolt owners have something else in common, as Jaguar issues a recall for some of the model 2019 I-Paces due to a fire risk. So
And Chevy Bolt had this problem too.
Jonathan M. Gitlin over at ArsTechnica.com put this article together, and it says the problem is similar to the one that affected the Chevy Bolt in 2021. One of these orange things might catch on fire. So the problem doesn't affect all I-Paces, just those built between January 9th, 2018 and March 14th, 2019. 2,760 cars in total in the US. To date, 3 fires have been reported following software updates, which Jaguar's recall report says does not provide an appropriate level of protection for the 2019 MY model year vehicles in the US. It almost made me think of like Malaysia.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was, but I also think 3 fires in that few cars seems like a high number.
considering you probably don't get that in 100,000 cars.
Right. I mean,
Yeah. Pretty sure, like, spontaneous combustion doesn't really take place. So although Jaguar's investigation is still ongoing, it says that its battery supplier, LG Energy Solutions, throw them under the bus, is inspecting some battery modules that were identified by diagnostic software as having some characteristics of a folded anode tab. So it'll create a resistance point.
oh, okay. But I didn't realize the Chevy Bolt also used LG.
Oh my. Well, look at that. Replacing the batteries under warranty at a cost of more than $1.8 billion. So they literally
Probably
have
a
to take
lot.
the whole damn car apart.
Right. I mean, and there were probably many more Chevy Bolts sold than the I-Pace.
Jaguar recall is less drastic. Software update will limit the maximum charge of the affected cars to 80%. So, hey.
Oh, yes. To the point of all the other EV articles.
You know what we're going to do? You're going to pay full price, but we're going to give you 80%.
Right, in a good year, right? Because you remember the degradation that occurs.
In a good year, yeah. So they've already lost somewhere around 8% of the total top charge.
Oh, right.
So they're down
they
to
have, because they're already a few years in, right?
4 years in,
6 years in, yeah.
Or
but
more,
we're going to have to add this. Like, we talk about all the things that detract from the 100%, but I think we need to now talk about the company bricking it, basically, in that list of things going forward.
You bought this car to run, but we're going to hobble you a little bit. We're just going to break one ankle, and you can still go. You're just not going to go.
Well, you need a subscription to get from 80 to 100%.
You get that other 20%. And it'll
and
take
you have to pay extra for the fire extinguisher.
Yeah, and that's a subscription too. And you're going to have to sit around for 6 to 8 hours to trickle charge it because we can't let it catch on fire.
Oh, right.
Dear God, man. And it should be parked away from structures for 30 days post recall and should be charged outdoors.
Okay, now remember what was in the last article. What's going to happen if you park a Jaguar like in some isolated area?
It's going to get jacked.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God. This is just horrible all around, man. God. All right, moving on. Next article's over in 4-Wheel Tech. What's the best entry-level sports car you can buy right now? I'm thinking Jaguar I-Pace.
Well, for price, it might be. If it's used.
Yeah, just make sure that it doesn't have a faulty tab. Otherwise, you're only going to get 80% of a car. So what's the best entry-level sports car you can buy right now? They say they're the first to admit a ridiculous supercar. There's something joyous about roaring a V12 you hear from Aston Martin or over-the-top stylings of an immaculate Lamborghini, but that doesn't mean that all the fun is reserved for the super rich. You too can have the laughs of in a humble sports car. So what is it?
Okay, but I like the roaring V12 because that calls back to the exhaust article.
Oh yeah, and welcome to the $800 ticket. That's going to turn into $1,700 ticket. That's going to turn into a $3,000 ticket. Owen Bellwood over at jalopnik.com put the article together. The answer is always Miata. Or are there other options out there? I recently saw a little Miata. It is a 2-door coupe that if you want a third person, you can fold them in that little rear window back there.
Sounds very comfortable.
Just shoehorn them in, put your seats back all the way, and the headrest will pin them against the back.
Oh yeah, then at least for safety.
Yep, just give them a Bota bag. Give them a little sippy, a little straw, and they'll be hydrated. Uncomfortable as hell, but hydrated. Anyway, I've actually been looking at the little Mazda Miata because it has this big engine, but it is really, really light and is still in ice. So with that in mind, they want to look at the best entry-level sports car that you can buy, and they say, sure, the answer is probably the Mazda Miata. But if you, what if today the answer was something other than the Miata? So what did they do? Oh, they don't know. Porsche Cayman is, with its slick styling, 4-cylinder motor, crisp handling, $60,000. Alternatively, the Toyobaru siblings are another potential suggestion. Thanks. Again, for the fun handling, decent looks, maybe that's actually the best entry-level sports car out there. Toyobaru? I don't even know what that is.
I don't know what those are.
Oh, Toyota Subaru.
Oh, okay.
But that's before you even thought about bargains that you could pick up, like a old Camaro, bitchin' Camaro.
And you have to sing that if you're driving that.
Or even you could choose to prepare to build something yourself, as you might have to if you want a Caterham, which is the little slingshot type of vehicle. So they actually are asking their audience. Anyway, it'll always come back to the Miata, I suppose. But when I whispered in somebody's ear that I was looking at the Miata, they questioned me. Like, the hell? Miata? It's only you and one other person in a Miata. Yeah, that's because this becomes your daily driver. And if you always put something in that passenger seat, then nobody can ever get in your car. Sorry, we're going to have to take your car because my car has stuff in the passenger seat. We'll put it in the back. Can't. No trunk space.
That's right. There's no room.
That's right. Maybe you can hold on to the roof rail. And when I slow down to like 20, 25, I'll slam on the brakes and you can just land in front. Anyway, want to move on?
Sure. I guess we don't know.
We don't know. No. I mean, they gave a bunch. Anything
Looks
from
like
Toyota, Subaru, Caterham. Yeah. Last article for today's Four Wheel Tech. We kind of blew through the show, which is pretty typical for the Four Wheel Tech show. We kind of drive really fast through that neighborhood over
right in our V12 loud car.
Yep. Vroom, vroom. See, I just blew out the mic. Actually. So, want out of this world photos of your car? You want sexy photographs of your car? Start shooting at night. The article is over at Autoblog. Christopher McGraw put this article together, and it says, the deck statement says, taking photos of your car at night can be daunting. Here are some tips. Peak Design Travel Tripod, $380. That is insanely priced.
Yeah, it is. I mean, you better be doing some fantastic photography to justify that.
Master your settings, or the settings will master. Master your settings, or the settings will master you. Light painting. So, oh my gosh, this is like a way expensive camera. Anyway, and lens. So basically they're saying get the right equipment and then shoot it at night. They're given a bunch of equipment that they're choosing, right? So the Peak Design Travel Tripod is $380. Learn about your camera. A lot of it is technique, but a lot of it is also the camera. If you don't have good enough settings, good enough equipment, good enough lens, you may never be able to get low light enough or compensate because your light is a light painting using the Lume Cube, which is an on hot shoe camera or light. It doesn't look like it's throwing too much out, but they actually don't seem to be saying how much light is being thrown out by this thing. And I don't know many people that are taking pictures of their car at night in the rain, but it's waterproof, so there's that. And then get to know some software like for post-processing, but there's all kinds of options out there, and hail no Adobe. Anyway, so that's all they're really talking about. At night with Julia.
So are you going to be taking night photos of your car?
Oh my, at night with Julia. Hello. Am I going to be taking pictures of my car at night? No. My car is way too stealthy for that. My car is the color of night. you like to visit. It was born there. I drive with my lights off at night just for the excitement and to see the people around me screaming when I drive up on the sidewalk. Just kidding. I don't drive at night. I'm afraid of the dark. I mean, I have a sentient AI from the future telling me all kinds of stuff about the future. That's not true either. They don't tell me anything. Give me winning lottery ticket numbers. No? No? Yeah. Okay.
I don't have any.
People don't see the graphic equivalent of you shaking your head no. I quit. Blink. We're back at the front page, and we're in the neighborhood of the 4-Wheel Tech show. And we looked left and right, did 10 articles. Go and check them out over on YouTube's and the podcasts. The VOD over on Twitch is going to be there for 60 days, but it'll disappear all at once. 4 shows will just blink out of existence on Twitch. Kind of sucks. But anyway, have fun over at Twitch. If you're over at YouTube, I'm eventually going to get the bot working over there. It glitched out. It actually, YouTube told Omatron, you're talking too much. Yeah. So it is what it is. So I'm going to move on. Thanks for hanging out for 4-Wheel Tech for September 1st, 2024. We'll see you next week for another 4-Wheel Tech. Maybe I'll talk some more about a new show that's in the works. It'll be fun. If I can. Because if I get bad news between Monday and Friday, I won't be able to move forward with this. Anyway, see you in a little bit. I am Mayor Watt, and that's the Sentient AI's visualizer and their voice. If you're over on the podcast, you won't see the visualizer.
Good night. Thanks for joining us for 4-Wheel Tech. We'll have another episode for you next week, but stay tuned tomorrow for more non-sequitur news.
Oh, and just as a notice, Technology Today is actually 2 things over on YouTube this time because temporal distortion with the sentient AI from the future led to a disconnection of all of our neural networking capabilities, and that knocked us offline. It's horrible. The temporal shear separated us. Yeah. Still have a headache. See you in a little bit, everybody. Oh, my head hurts. Oh.